Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, George Harris joins us. He's the publisher of Liberty Watch magazine, here for the whole show on all new Nevada Newsmakers.
Politicians, they hide behind commercials and social media, trying to act tough. A bunch of keyboard cowboys. They talk tough about immigration, but none of them have locked up or deported a single violent criminal. Not one. I've deported thousands. They closed schools, tied the hands of police, and wrecked our economy. I'm Joe Lombardo. I'm running for governor because we can do better. Nevada deserves better. Let's take our state back.
Joe Lombardo for governor.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
A parade sets the stage for the greatest show in the biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada.
It's a legacy that began over 100 years ago and continues today. The Reno Rodeo. Still the wildest, richest rodeo in the West. Keeping it old school at the Reno Rodeo 2022, June 16th to the 25th. For tickets, go to renorodeo.com.
In Steve Sisolak's Nevada, criminals are free to walk our streets, and it's harder for police to do their jobs. He made our elections less secure, now the worst in the nation. Joe Lombardo's Nevada? Safer, more secure. Increased penalties for violent crime and more cops on our streets. He'll require photo ID to vote and make ballot harvesting a crime again. Joe Lombardo, restoring our values and keeping us safe.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from the Ahern Hotel in Las Vegas. And back by popular demand, your last appearance, which was only a couple of weeks ago, was huge. So we're welcoming you back. George Harris, publisher of Liberty Watch magazine. What did you send out, 55,000 copies of the last
55,000? 137,500 to every primary Republican voter in the state of Nevada, Sam.
That's a lot of magazines.
But before we start, thank you so much for having me on. I always appreciate this venue here is what the people of the state of Nevada need, so they can actually get some insight of some quote-unquote inside baseball of what's going on in politics.
Well, I appreciate that, George. Well, and I appreciate you being here as well and being a big supporter of the show all these years. Okay, so let's start out. As we are taping this, and this is probably going to be a week later as we air this, you posted something on Facebook last night in regard, seriously now, to what happened in Texas with the shooting and the elementary school. And would you care to share with the audience your thoughts on that? Because I think people would be surprised at what you posted.
Well, I was very frustrated because I posted to you genius politicians that in your 30-second spots, you're shooting guns. For some reason, we have to vote for you because you can shoot a gun. It's horrible messaging. And this is from a guy who's a big pro-Second Amendment guy, and I'm a big gun guy, okay? But it's absolutely horrible messaging, and it's absurd to believe that you and I, as citizens, are gonna vote for a guy or a girl because they're on TV shooting at something. It's ludicrous. And I said, why don't you have a little respect and understanding with what just took place with the mass shooting in Texas? Why don't you pull those commercials and, you know, start with something new, something bold, like maybe a solution on how we can reduce gas prices, or let's go even crazier, how we can reduce crime in our schools, or even crazier, let's open up the government offices across the state back to 5 days a week. Let's do something for the citizens and quit worrying about this elite class of folks you've created with bureaucrats. You know, in Las Vegas, Monday through Friday, everything's closed on Friday. Clark County, everything's closed on Friday. At the state, everything's closed on Friday. Well, wait a minute. I work Monday through Friday. I work. How about they open those offices up and provide something to us, the voter, or the citizens who pay the taxes?
There's also an analogy to what you're saying about the commercials. When an airline tragically crashes, all advertisements for airlines are pulled immediately. So, your suggestion is right on the money in terms of, empathy for what's occurred.
Well, there should be empathy, but more importantly, I did that tongue-in-cheek. It's horrific what took place with this mass shooting. But to believe that politicians believe that taxpayers or voters are so dumb that, well, I'm sorry, Sam, I can't vote for you because you're not shooting a gun in your commercial, is ludicrous. And it's offensive, to be frank with you.
All right, so isn't the reality, though, and forget about the gun part of it, but we're aiming these commercials, especially in the last weeks of a campaign, at this tiny minority of people who have not made up their mind. So that's who you're really aiming these commercials at.
I agree 100%. But on where on this planet Earth are there's a tiny small segment of the population going to go, well, we're all over the house and we're waiting for a commercial to come on with someone shooting a gun because that's the guy I'm going to vote for. I mean, come on, Sam, it's ridiculous.
All right, but how do you change this in a society, even with the cable networks, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, the primary ones, there are others, Newsmax, etc. Even though they get a lot of publicity, there's really not that many people watching them.
Right, because Sam, it's the number's staggering now. The number's like 89% of all adults 18 to 56 get all of their news off their phone, off their device. So that's the new medium. And you're right, nobody's watching Fox News anymore. Nobody's watching CNN. Nobody's watching your local news station.
Well, for Fox News, for example, it's a couple of million tops.
Right.
But it punches well above its weight in the response it gets from the public and from other media.
Right, because it goes from there and someone here's the thing, the real-time event takes place and then it's washed through the washing machine, through the internet, through the phone system, and that's why it gets the play. And then what happened, Dave cut his finger today. And by the time you read about it at 6 o'clock on your Facebook page, Dave lost 3 fingers in a fist fight with 9 guys down by the river, and Dave doesn't even live by the river.
Well, this was what happened in elementary school when you whispered from one person to the other, and the story was supposed to come back to the teacher the same way it went out, and it was completely different.
It's 100% correct.
All right, so how do we change this?
Well, you don't, because you're looking at a paradigmical, you like that word, paradigmical, and it is a word because I made it up. You're looking at a paradigmical change. The paradigm from news media today, because I'm the publisher of Liberty Watch magazine, and I never switched from printing. And everybody told me how crazy I was. But I have a very large audience that enjoys getting the magazine, opening it up, smelling the ink, and flipping from page to page. But the paradigm has changed, and none of these big companies who have all the money in the world haven't changed with it. Because the fact of the matter is, 18 to 32 years old is the demographic that manifest all these stories.
Explain that.
Well, they see a story or they read something and they put it on their Instagram or their Facebook or their TikTok, and they're the ones that
Okay, so you mean magnify.
Well, but manifest too. I say that, yes, you could say magnify, but they take that story and they put their own spin on it.
Okay.
So they're not magnifying the original story. They are manifesting what was a mushroom on the ground into a football on the field.
Okay, with Liberty Watch, you occasionally have what one would consider left-wing contributors.
Correct.
Are you looking at having more? Because I think it's fascinating to see both sides of all these issues.
Well, no, I use Firma Harp for one reason. She's an excellent writer.
Yes.
And she is an excellent example of how crazy the left is, and how just totally irresponsible they are in the way they present their arguments. Like, gasoline, which I told you a year and a half ago, as you recall. Sam, gasoline's probably going to float around $5 a gallon, and you looked at me like I was from a different planet.
That is actually true.
Okay, and now gasoline might be floating at $6 a gallon by July. Okay, the Democrats are the cause of this now because A, they're in charge, B, they stopped all oil production. Even if they start it again, it's going to take 120 days to get it back up. But then we have another problem with the supply chain. You can't get truck drivers to go to the gas distillation centers, fill the gas tanks up, and deliver it. So there's these. That's what's causing the pressure.
Hang on. The audience is waiting for me with the comeback here.
No, they're not.
So
they know you know nothing about business, so they're not waiting for anything.
There is no shortage of gasoline in this country. There are no gas lines.
You
you go to any gas station, there is plenty of gas.
Correct.
It's the pricing of the gas.
No, and the pricing's fair because Sammy, the
OPEC
problem is they
part
can't.
of the problem.
Sam, they can't move gas from point A to point B because they don't have anybody to move it.
There is no shortage of gas at gas stations.
When they move gas from point A to point B, it costs more money to do that.
George, that may be true.
That really try to teach me economics. I will.
Just call me professor.
Yes, professor.
When there is a line at the gas station, except when the initial price jumps occurred, suddenly at Costco, the line was way out in the street because people were concerned that it was going to go up another $1 before they could fill their tank. But what I'm saying to you is that there is no shortage of gasoline in this country.
You're wrong. 100% wrong.
Because there is no line anywhere.
Really?
But OPEC.
You're wrong.
OPEC has
Again, you're wrong.
Sam,
Sam, do me a favor.
The price.
Do not go on television and be untruthful to your viewers because they turn to you for truth and correctness. If you go to any Costco right now, you're waiting anywhere from 35 to 75 minutes for gas.
Do you know why?
Excuse me?
Do you know why?
I know exactly why. I explained it to you last show.
Everybody's going there, but I go there at 6:30. And at 6:30,
doesn't matter. Everybody's not on your schedule.
You can pull up to the pump with no. The point.
That's not true, Sam.
The point is
fibber. Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Hang on a second. The point is this: they are lining up because they want to buy the gasoline. They want to get it at the price they want to get it at.
Correct.
But it is not because there is a shortage of gasoline at the pump. It is because the price of gas.
When did I say there was a shortage of gasoline?
About 5 minutes ago.
No, I didn't. I said there is a supply chain problem. The supply chain is truck drivers going from point A to point B. So here's what most trucking companies are doing today, including your good friends over at Walmart. Okay? Nothing is being brought to Las Vegas unless that truck can be filled back up to go back to where they are. No one is deadheading. That's why it takes 5 weeks to get furniture or an auto part or
5
something.
weeks? Try Lazy Boy 7 months.
Right. Because they're not going to deadhead back and forth. Sam, if you want to try to teach me economics, I will bow down to you.
I am, well, you would have a long way to go because you're much taller than me.
Let me go in and get my, hold it, where is it? I'll just pull my degree out in underwater basket weaving, which is a very difficult degree to get.
And on that note, we will take a break and be right back with my good friend George Harris after this.
In Steve Sisolak's Nevada, criminals are free to walk our streets, and it's harder for police to do their jobs. He made our elections less secure, now the worst in the nation. Joe Lombardo's Nevada? Safer, more secure. Increased penalties for violent crime and more cops on our streets. He'll require photo ID to vote and make ballot harvesting a crime again. Joe Lombardo, restoring our values and keeping us safe.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal Gas Station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company, with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com. I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. Entertainment here at the Carson Valley Inn is extraordinary.
Yeah, super proud of the TJ's Corral, our outdoor venue, about 1,500 seats. We've had first-class entertainment out there. We've had Merle Haggard, we've had Chris Young, we've had Lee Brice a couple times, we've had Pat Benatar, Joan Jett, who's in the Hall of Fame. We're real proud out there, and it's just a great time. Watch CarsonValleyInn.com and grab those tickets early. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on the the Nevada Newsmakers here with George Harris. He is the publisher of Liberty Watch magazine.
I actually like that. Maybe we can get some new artwork.
Yeah. You wish. Listen, let's talk about the governor's race. Where are we with the governor's race, in your opinion? First of all, on the governor's side, because he's still sitting with $10.5 million in the bank and hasn't had to spend a dime.
Correct.
The only competition he has is a former Clark County commissioner, and that ain't going anywhere.
Right. So the governor can have $20 million in the bank. It's not going to help him. People don't forget. People don't forget the way they were treated for 2 years. There's a lot of, he's going to end up have to answer for people not getting unemployment. Steve Sisolak's going to be pretty easy to beat.
Okay, on the surface, one could say yes, but that's still a lot of money to be able to spend in a campaign and not having, although,
What's the market, Sam? We've discussed this many times. The purchase of this market to have full name recognition and full awareness of the public is $3.1 million. Okay? So all someone has to do is come up with $3.1 million, which they will.
Well,
and they'll have full name recognition, and if their message is crafted correctly and it's right, they will have a 100%, hey, I agree or disagree with that guy. What's the governor going to do? He's going to go out and say, hey, I locked you out of your jobs. I chose who should be essential and who shouldn't be essential.
I think that he's going to say I did the best I could under difficult circumstances. I think that
none of that means.
Hang on. I think that the swing here is mothers whose kids weren't able to go to the prom, weren't able to play sports.
Mama bears are going to be the deciding factor.
I think so.
And mama bears are angry that their kids lost 2 years of school. They're angry, viscerally angry about it. But he's going to say I did the best job I could. He just relinquished emergency powers. Okay? What is this? What is he, Stalin? What is he, Adolf Hitler? I mean, you don't put people under there hasn't been an emergency for almost 9 months.
Well, what's going to be interesting is he did an interview with the Reno Gazette-Journal recently, and I sent a note to the chief of staff saying I'm glad he's talking to somebody. He doesn't have to come on this show, but he should be talking.
He won't come on your show because he can't defend his actions.
But it's going to be interesting to see if he will go onto other shows, or he will go onto to newspaper.
If he's being written about or he's on shows, it's going to be the Nevada Independent with the most liberal Uber blogger on the planet. It's going to be the Reno Gazette-Journal. He's not going to go anywhere where they're not friendly.
Okay, I think that, and I'm going to defend the Nevada Independent here. John Ralston.
Well, there's a first.
John Ralston has his own opinions, and he is, plenty of pathways to be able to send those out. And he does opinion pieces for the Independent. But I think the reporting staff of the Nevada Independent pretty much hits the middle road and covers things fairly. I don't really have arguments with them in terms of what I read, and I read them all the time.
That's not what your question was. Your question was, is he going to go on? He's not going to go anywhere where he does not have a friendly audience.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, if he's interviewed by the editorial staff of the Independent,
he won't be.
I'm just saying that there are venues everywhere for him to.
But he won't be. He'll be interviewed by the liberal blogger and the liberal blogger will spew out everything that he wants, everything that's in their vernacular and on their agenda.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to something more important.
Okay, well, let's go to commercial break and we'll be right back.
Politicians, they hide behind commercials and social media, trying to act tough. A bunch of keyboard cowboys. They talk tough about immigration, but none of them have locked up or deported a single violent criminal. Not one. I've deported thousands. They closed schools, tied the hands of police, and wrecked our economy. I'm Joe Lombardo. I'm running for governor because we can do better. Nevada deserves better. Let's take our state back.
Joe Lombardo for governor.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerauer, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, I continue I believe it's an interview, but it may not be, with George Harris. He's the publisher of Liberty Watch magazine and my friend of 20 years. Let's talk about Catherine Cortez Masto.
Yes.
It's been interesting that in the governor's race, the governor has spent zero money on commercials, but there is a ton of commercials running for.
She's spent almost, I think she's a little over $3 million because she's in danger. She's in real danger if Captain Sam Brown wins. He's an American war hero. He has matched and exceeded Little Lord Laxalt. Some of you call him Adam Laxalt. We call him Little Lord Laxalt.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yes.
With where we're looking at with the economy, with so many things in this country that the president is taking a hit for. Mm-hmm. We're looking at potentially a red wave. What might have been a safe Democratic seat because of Clark County could be in jeopardy in this United States Senate race. But I go back to what Sig Rogich said when he formed Republicans for Reed, which is, who do you want sitting there negotiating for rights on the Colorado River? Do you want Sharon Angle or do you want Harry Reid? And Sig, a lifetime Republican, put forth Republicans for Reed.
And that's a good, what you just said is good. Who do you want representing the Republicans, business ideals, family values, the right thing? Do you want a war hero, a loving husband, a guy who graduated from West Point, an absolute stellar human being, businessman, or do you want Adam Laxalt, who comes from an elite family, who grew up in the swamp, who is, all he does all day long is go, hey, this guy's endorsed me, this guy's endorsed me, I'm Adam Laxalt. It's just insanely ridiculous, and he doesn't have a chance against Cortez Masto.
Okay, Sam Brown is a war hero. Mm-hmm. His story is an incredible love story, that his nurse, when he was blown up in Afghanistan, he came back.
We all know the story.
No, I'm sharing the story because there's maybe 8 people in Sparks that don't know the story.
All right.
He was blown up in Afghanistan. When he was in the hospital, his nurse treated him, fell in love. It's a great love story.
Right.
But Sam Brown has zero experience
That's not true. Sam Brown's owned businesses.
I'm talking about in politics.
Thank God. Thank God we finally have someone who has zero experience that can't be influenced by all these snake oil salesmen. Okay? Adam Laxalt is a polished little dude that went to every elite school in Washington. All his friends are from Washington. And let me tell you something. Adam's losing right now. His own internal polls say he's losing between 3 and 5 points. And why? Because Adam's message is, I'm going to get my friends at Club for Growth to send out $1 million in mail pieces this week against Sam Brown, because Sam wore a hat years ago and said, I'm living in Texas and I never want to leave Texas. But Adam was living in D.C. and never wanted to leave D.C. They both, they're like a year and a half apart from both of them living here.
To be continued.
Oh, are you kidding
Always
me?
my friend.
Nope, let's cut off the first part and finish this conversation.
And that's where we have to leave it. My friend George Harris.
Thanks for
right
having
back.
me, Sam. I
Always.
appreciate it.
In Steve Sisolak's Nevada, criminals are free to walk our streets, and it's harder for police to do their jobs. He made our elections less secure, now the worst in the nation. Joe Lombardo's Nevada? Safer, more secure. Increased penalties for violent crime and more cops on our streets. He'll require photo ID to vote and make ballot harvesting a crime again. Joe Lombardo, restoring our values and keeping us safe.
Why is Mark Amadei voting with the Democrats? Benefits and citizenship for illegal immigrants, funding Planned Parenthood, reckless budget bills. Who doesn't he vote with? Everyday people like all of us. Nevada demands better, and better begins now. Danny Tarkanian is an America First conservative who will fight radical far-left policies. He has the courage to stand against those whose agenda is to see our country fail.
My name is Danny Tarkanian. I'm running for Congress, and I approve this message.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
That's it for this edition of Nevada Newsmakers. We'll see you on the next broadcast. Thanks for watching.